What is going on? No Horsing Around family. Back at it again. Just wanted to hop on here. Who is going to be the next Colts quarterback? Matt Ryan, Jameis Winston, Baker Mayfield, Jimmy Garoppolo, Malik Willis, Desmond Ridder, Sam Ehlinger? I don't know. You tell me. Let's just start with the top. Matt Ryan. Just kind of the thought process that I think that Chris Ballard goes through. One thing that Chris Ballard has done in the past, he's always relied, history repeats itself a lot with Chris Ballard. I think one thing with Matt Ryan, he feels comfortable in that position. Not saying that the trade is imminent or necessarily going to happen. It seems like it probably is going to fall through now that Deshaun Watson decided to just, last second, just pull the rug out from underneath everybody and go to Cleveland. I think that was his preferred target, honestly. He looks back at draw parallels from a Phillip Rivers and a Matt Ryan. It's easy to do because of their age, but also their play. They get it here. They're mentally sharp, good locker room leaders, good culture setters, things that line up so Ballard values that so much. He's a staunch believer in culture and in creating a great locker room. So for me, I wouldn't have a problem with Matt Ryan. I think of those options, he's probably the better option. Probably could give you 2 good years now that they've readjusted the contract around $50 million. I think that's reasonable at this point. You can get 2 years out of them. You wouldn't be pressed to necessarily, go for a rookie QB this year necessarily unless you wanted to. We'd love to hear your comments. We'd love to see what you guys say. By the way, shout out to you guys. You guys have been blowing it up in the comments section on YouTube. Unbelievable. Just keep it going. I mean, this is your voice. This is your platform. This is what we want you. We do this podcast because of you and for you. So thank you. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and, do that. If you feel like that you like what we're doing, you want to join the family, welcome. Moving on to the next guy, Baker Mayfield. I know that's a hot topic. You see the commercials that he does. He's kind of a wild card. I've thought a lot about how I feel about Baker Mayfield, and I'm hot and cold in some areas. You feel like you're getting a little bit of what you just got rid of with Baker Mayfield. Not necessarily the greatest locker room guy, though I think he might have gotten a little bit of a bad rap in Cleveland, honestly. I just think that he didn't mesh with some of the star players there. OBJ being very vocal about that. I know his dad went on a rant about Baker Mayfield. But the question of does Mayfield love the game, far different, in my opinion, than Carson Wentz. Losing to Baker Mayfield is gut-wrenching. It hurts him. You can tell he plays through a lot of injuries. He took a lot of criticism. I still think there's some immaturity issues, some personal things going on, but you could see him being a face of a franchise. And if you do this move, it's more of a long-term projected future, you would think. I know he just has the 1 year on his deal, but what type of assets would you give up? I am not a Baker Mayfield, hey, I'm going to give up a first-round pick. Like, that's ridiculous. You don't have to. You're looking at a team right now that has to trade Baker Mayfield. That's not an option. They can't keep Baker Mayfield on this current team. They've already actually signed the backup, Jacoby Brissett. That being said, I don't know. Maybe they want to ship him out. There's reports that Andrew Berry might prefer to have him out in the NFC, which makes a lot of sense. Honestly, the Seahawks have a lot more assets to give up than we do at this point. So if they want to be aggressive in that approach, and I would think if they are going to be aggressive, we would have maybe already heard something about that. I think Chris Ballard is lukewarm on that from what I can gather and the people that I've talked to. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think he's lukewarm on that. Jimmy G's been out there forever. I think the offers out there for Jimmy G, same thing with Ballard. Ballard has a lot of leverage plays in all of these things. Like, these are teams that kind of need to get rid of those contracts or need to get rid of those players. You talk about the 49ers, you talk about the Browns. They both have starters in place. They don't need to carry that cap, especially trying to sign extra players, via free agency and everything. And the Colts are in a very good position because they're one of the few teams that can actually take on a cap hit like that because they have so much money. Chris Ballard never spends money, never will. I'll never buy it. I'll never, ever, ever buy it. He's told you for 6 years, if it's the right player, he'll go out and spend. Well, there ain't been one in 6 years. There ain't going to be one in the next 6 years. That's just who Chris Ballard is, right or wrong. I tend to disagree with that philosophy. I think you have to be flexible and willing to change the way you're going, to change the course for true growth. I think Chris says a lot of things, and he says a lot of things right. He's been very good in drafting. I'm not so sure that Chris Ballard is a great general manager. I just think he's a very good talent evaluator. That's why you see him hit. You see him hit in the draft a lot because it's a slower, methodical process. Chris Ballard is very comfortable in that world of that slow, methodical process, really grinding the gears. When you ask a guy to think on their feet, it's got to be quick. It's got to be instant. We got to have a decision, in a matter of hours to get aggressive in certain things. That's just not Chris Ballard. That's not who he is. That's not how he's going to operate. He'll tell you, that's just not what we do here, but it's a fault of his. We can say whatever we want to say. We can sugarcoat how we want to sugarcoat it. It's a fault. It's a problem. It's been a problem. You had an opportunity last year. I think one of my biggest gripes is Matt Stafford was ready and available, and you could have been very aggressive and to go in to get him, and you went the cheap route. And you see what happens. I mean, that team won the Super Bowl. Year before, Tom Brady goes in a big deal. Probably could have had both. Honestly, you probably had chances to have an offer out to both, and just weren't willing to be aggressive and fast enough in that market. And I think that's one of the reasons that Ballard really doesn't like free agency, is because it requires him to make decisions so fast. He doesn't get to think about it and sleep on it and move through the process. He likes the world he's in right now, where he can go slow, he can take his time, there's no pressure, and he can feel like he's making a better decision. But the honest truth is he didn't make a good decision last year, did he? He took his time. He moved a little bit quicker. That was a ready, available guy after the Stafford thing kind of went through. But still, he put his offer out, and it was out there for a few days. It didn't go quick, and that's not what he's going to do. I don't think Jimmy G is going to be a guy that we really covet necessarily coming off of a shoulder surgery, and we shouldn't give up a lot. Look, we worked really hard to get back some of this stuff that we lost with Carson Wentz. When it's all said and done, we got our 3rd-round pick back. We might end up getting a 2nd-round pick. I believe that Ron Rivera is a very loyal coach and probably will give him every opportunity to do what he needs to do. If he's healthy this year, that's probably going to be a 2nd-round pick for us. Giving any of those assets up, I just don't think that Ballard's real, keen or excited on that. Then the next guy that kind of goes into, I've been saying it since the beginning, and I've said it, and I mean it. And a lot of people get a little bit upset and frustrated and disagree with me, which is okay. That's why we do this. But Jameis Winston, I feel like he's, of those guys, he has the highest ceiling. Probably also has the lowest floor, if we're going to be fair. He's had some trouble and some warts in his past for sure. But let's not, get so hung up on his past. He was a young guy in a very bad system, running for his life, not a good offensive line, not a good structure around him. And he was throwing the ball 50 times a game because his team was always behind. Threw a lot of interceptions. He also threw a lot of touchdowns. People don't really think about that, but he threw a lot of touchdowns. Not just touchdowns, but 5,000 yards. That's a lot to work with. In a system with Frank Reich, how he's been with quarterbacks, and whether you like Wentz, whether you believe in him or not, Carson Wentz cut his turnovers down considerably. Phillip Rivers considerably. The system that Jameis Winston, under a really good coach in Sean Payton, was cut down considerably. He had something going last year. I think that would have been a playoff team had he been healthy. He's a cheaper guy. You give up no assets, and ultimately could turn out to be the best quarterback of this crop, if we're being honest. I would probably choose, if I had a choice and it was out there, I probably would choose Matt Ryan over all of them, because I think he's the safest, best choice, and it gets you through the next couple years. I think he's probably got a couple years of football left in him. If you're going to go the free agency route or any other route, for me personally, I would go Jameis Winston. I just think it makes most sense. You can get him now, you can take care of now, and you can take care of the future. You've got an asset. Whether you lose him via free agency next year, you would get obviously a comp pick for that, or you could trade him and get something, get another asset moving forward down the road. Guys, what do you think? Who do you want? Are you Ryan? Are you Baker Mayfield? Jameis Winston? Marcus Mariota? Draft pick? Malik Willis? Desmond Ritter? Light us up in the comments. Let's get a great conversation going. And until next time, until we have a quarterback, thanks for tuning in, guys. Join the family. No horsing around.